from University of California, Irvine, just up the road. And today I'd like to talk to you about how to make your brain better. All right? So we're going to take some roads that may not be where you think we're going to end up, but we will end up there. So be patient and hopefully all the information will be of interest. All right. Everybody knows what Alzheimer's disease is, and what we really need are treatments for Alzheimer's that are highly effective, are convenient to get, are safe, and are of reasonable cost. And the recent drugs that have come on the market are ineffective, very inconvenient to use, highly expensive, and very unsafe. So we have to do better. Right? One way that we may be able to get an insight into this is by looking at a very interesting phenomenon. It's called cognitive reserve. Cognitive reserve occurs when you have people and you image their brains and they have all the damage that you see in somebody who has profound memory loss. But they don't have profound memory loss, they just have the normal loss of memory of aging. What's different about these people? Well, they've had an enriched environment all through their lives. They've had a high level of education, they've had a cognitively challenging career, and they have high levels of social activity. And all of these things add up to stimulate the brain throughout their lives so that they're protected from showing the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease, the memory loss, even though they have the damage in their brains. All right. Fortunately, there is an animal model of this phenomenon. All right. It turns out that when you have animals in the lab, they're typically kept in one of these little box cages. So they don't get much stimulation, but they seem fine. They learn, they remember, they have motor activities, their social behavior is normal. But when you take these rats or mice and you put them in a large environment with some friends and many new things to do every day, their brain becomes much more complex, much more capable, and they learn better, they remember better, their motor activities are better, everything is better. And when you engineer into these rats or mice different kinds of neurological diseases, all of these are really good animal models of these human neurological conditions because they show symptoms that mimic the human condition when they have these disorders. All right? So addiction, ADHD, Alzheimer's disease, anxiety, autism, brain injury, all of these things get much better. They don't show the symptoms when they've had this kind of environmental enrichment. I want to show you how dramatic it can be. So if you take human cancer cells and you implant them into a mouse, if they're in the standard environment, the cells come together, they form tumors, the tumors eventually metastasize, and all the mice die. If you put these same kinds of cancer cells in mice that are kept in an enriched environment, what happens is that they form little tumors or no tumors at all. They don't metastasize, and all the mice live. All right? That's how dramatic this is. And this kind of experience increases all the things that are anti-cancer and decreases all the things that are pro-cancer. Right? But what I want you to notice is how many things are changing in order to get these cancers free. And it's dozens of them. And one of the problems, I think, with biomedical research in general is that we focus on individual things. So we try to increase this, right? Or we try to decrease that. But in fact, we may need to recruit many kinds of things because human neurological disorders are even more complicated than these cancers. Humans can have an enriched environment. They can also have an impoverished environment. These children are at the facilities that were present in Romania. In the 1980s, there was a fellow named Ceausescu who ruined the economy, and he also thought that they should have more babies, and so he outlawed contraception. Not surprisingly, there were a lot of kids, and the parents couldn't afford them, so they brought them to the local orphanages, which are funded by the state, but they were not highly funded. And so they didn't have enough people to take care of them in the normal way. So they were kept in their own little isolated box cages. And rather than 1 or 2% of them having autism symptoms when they got out, 33% had those kinds of symptoms. So low stimulation, high levels of autism symptoms. But then they hired people to be full-time parents, right, foster parents. So they got a high level of stimulation, an enriched environment. And when they did that, the symptoms went down. So high level of stimulation, low level of symptoms. And we thought that maybe we could use this to treat children in Orange County that have autism. And so we put together kits and we gave them to the parents. The parents gave them enriched environment stimulation in the morning and the evening for about 15 minutes. All right. We focused the stimulation on olfactory stimuli. I'll tell you more about that later. But it was all of the senses, right? And 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening, and all right, so he's getting this kind of stimulation. When we did this with children who had autism, these were all seriously affected kids, and after a few months, we found that they had greatly improved their behavior. Here's somebody before. And you don't have to be a diagnostician to see that this kid has serious social interaction problems. Here he is after 6 months of treatment. And after 6 months, 42% of the children had a major improvement in their symptoms compared to 7% of children who were getting standard care. And standard care in Orange County is pretty intense, all right? And after 6 months, the treated kids had an increase in their IQ of 8 points, very hard to accomplish, while the kids in the standard care didn't have an increase in their IQ. Not only did it deal effectively with the two core symptoms of autism, which are social problems and focus on specific items or repetitive behavior, it also dealt with all the other kinds of symptoms that these kids have. And each kid has a different set of symptoms, and these are never dealt with in any other kind of treatment for autism. But here they all were successfully. All right, so we got an award from the American Psychological Association. They thought it was interesting. All right, so I mentioned that we focused on olfactory stimulation, odor stimulation. And that's because the olfactory system is unique in that it's the only sensory system that has a direct superhighway access into the memory and emotional centers of the brain. All of the other senses take the side streets in order to get there. And so consequently, they have much less impact on memory and emotion. Right? So when you don't have enough olfactory stimulation, your brain starts to deteriorate, particularly the memory parts of the brain. And unfortunately, we don't get enough olfactory stimulation in our modern world. If you take a deep breath now, my guess is that you won't smell anything. Right? And the human brain evolved at a time when it was getting plenty of olfactory stimulation. During that time, nobody took a shower ever. So you were getting plenty of olfactory stimulation, for other reasons as well. But not only don't we get much olfactory stimulation, as a matter of course, many ways of damaging the olfactory system and therefore getting less olfactory stimulation. So aging, certainly, we'll talk more about that. Head trauma, childhood maltreatment, stress, ultra-processed foods. Americans eat about 60% of their diet as ultra-processed foods. Nasal pathway blockage, anatomical kinds of things, and respiratory infections will block it up as well. Air pollution, toxins, chronic alcohol use, a wide range of medications, and of course, as everybody knows, COVID-19 does the same thing. And months after people have recovered from COVID-19, from a mild case of COVID-19, they still have olfactory loss, and they also have memory loss, right? And the critical parts of the brain responsible for memory also deteriorate. What is also the case is that in each one of these situations, you not only get olfactory loss, you get memory loss, right? And in fact, olfaction and memory are tied throughout life. You can see this is the ability to smell things, starts to go downhill dramatically at about the age of 60 and continues to go downhill for the rest of your life. This is your ability to remember things. It starts to go downhill at the age of 60 and continues to go downhill for the rest of your life, hand in hand with your inability to smell things. Olfaction loss is the first problem that people with Alzheimer's disease get, right? The pathway from the olfactory system into the memory system is the first pathway to deteriorate. The ability to smell things is the first symptom of Alzheimer's disease, and it continues to be a symptom throughout life. But it's not just Alzheimer's disease. Every form of dementia is associated with olfactory loss. Alzheimer's and the rest of them, Parkinson's, schizophrenia, AIDS, and alcoholism have dementia in the terminal aspect of the disease, but it's the same kind of dementia. All of them have olfactory loss. And it's not just dementia. Virtually every neurological disorder is associated with olfactory loss. I've counted about 70 of them. You can see many of these you probably know about, and many more you probably have never heard of, but they're all accompanied by olfactory loss. And you know the diseases that are most likely to kill you? Heart disease, cancer, yeah, that too. All of these are associated with olfactory loss. Arthritis, osteoporosis, obesity, lung disease, liver disease, kidney disease, heart disease, cancer, all of them are associated with olfactory loss. So it should not be a surprise that by middle age, your all-cause mortality, that is, whether you live or die for any reason, can be accurately predicted by your ability to smell things. It's more predictive than whether or not you have heart disease. If losing olfactory stimulation is bad for your memory, right, and every time you lose olfactory stimulation, your memory centers start to deteriorate. Right? Would the opposite work? Will increasing olfactory stimulation, olfactory enrichment, could that do any good? Right? So here are young adults, normal, healthy young adults who are training to be sommeliers, professional wine tasters. Actually, they're professional wine smellers. And the way that they train is that every day they sniff dozens and dozens of odors, right, over the course of many months. And that's, of course, to be able to identify those odors when they're in fine wine. When they do this and they track their brains from the start of their training to the end, they find that a critical memory area increases significantly in size, right? So it works. Increasing olfactory stimulation actually improves the memory system. We took older adults and we gave them olfactory stimulation at night, right? Olfactory enrichment, while they were sleeping. And after 6 months, they had a remarkable 220% increase in what they could remember compared to individuals who didn't get that kind of stimulation. 226% improvement is the biggest that has ever been recorded for older adults in memory. All right. We also found a critical memory pathway in the brain improved to almost an identical, the same extent. Right? And that turns out to be really important because you want to have the brain improving as well as the behavior. people were interested in this. There have been it was published over the summer, there have been over 200 news stories around the world, Switzerland, New Zealand, Stockholm, all over. And you can access the article online, and to date, 325,000 people have done that. Just to give you an idea, that's about 1,000 times more than a typical neuroscience publication. So people are very interested in this, which is great. There's even a more interesting experiment that's coming out of South Korea. And what it is that they gave them olfactory stimulation, but this time they gave it to people who were demented, who had Alzheimer's disease. Right? And after they stopped the stimulation, they had significant improvements on 5 standard memory tests with improvements up to 300% better than the controls. This is now the most effective treatment for Alzheimer's disease. Right? All the billions of dollars that have been spent, and it's something as simple as this. Right? And what it means is that we now have something that is highly effective, that is low cost, completely safe, and very easy. What am I supposed to say? It doesn't cost a lot of money. Right? What it does have, unfortunately, is that it's inconvenient, right? Because in order to get that, they had to use 40 odors twice a day, right? So can you imagine unscrewing and sniffing and screwing 80 bottles a day, particularly if you have severe memory problems, right? So that's not going to work. All right? So what you need to do is figure out a way of having all the good parts of this while making it convenient. And so my friends and I formed a little company, and we hired a bunch of former Apple designers and engineers, and we came up with this. It's called Memory Air. It is putting out 40 odors twice a night as you sleep. All right? Every night as you sleep, you get 40 odors twice a night. Right? And we think this is going to really change the way people approach their memory as they get older. And if they get dementia, this will be, I think, a critical part of the treatment program. Right? Right now, there's simply nothing else that is as good. If you're interested in signing up to get more information when it's available, we have sign-up sheets over there. There's also information sheets if you want to look at that. So we think what we may be doing is mimicking the cognitive reserve, but rather than taking a lifetime to build up the stimulation of the memory parts of your brain, we can do it very rapidly by having a direct access to the memory and to the emotional centers. By the way, it also decreases depression symptoms, right? Again, because it's going to the emotion part of the brain. Right? So we think this is very exciting. We're looking forward to having a lot of people use this as a matter of course. We think it's possible now because you just put in our odor belt at the beginning of the month. An hour, when you go to sleep, you press a button, and the odors come on an hour after you do that, and you don't have to do anything else, even press a button for the rest of the month, right? The light will go on at the end of the month. You put in a new odor belt. All right. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. Yeah? It will be available, we think, in a month or 2. It's being manufactured as we speak. We have a patent, and we're just put in a new patent application that expands what's patented.
Is there a monthly fee or something, or once you buy?
Yeah, so you get you buy it, and then you get a monthly fee for the odor belts. Yes.
What are some of the odors that are involved?
Oh, they're all very pleasant Natural odors, people call them essential oils, but they're just natural odors. They're squeezed and steamed out of plants.
How do they pick the 40 odors?
We just used the 40 odors that we used in the dementia study. We want to make it effective.
How much is it going to be a month?
It's going to be $39 a month. We don't know what happens when you stop taking it, but I suspect it's like anything else. It's like a muscle. You use it, it gets better. You don't use it, it gets worse.
Do you buy the machine or do you rent it? Or
You buy the machine, and then you get the monthly shipment.
What's the price of that? Or do you
The machine will cost $799, and it's $39 a month for the odor belt. It doesn't. We were very careful about that. Again, we want people to use it. So it turns out that the sound that it makes is well beneath the ambient sound in people's bedrooms. We've measured that, and it's fine. It won't wake.
In the way back then.
Okay, way back. Oh, she's asking to get access to the publication. So it's Frontiers in Neuroscience, and just search for my name and olfactory probably, or memory, yeah. Yeah, so you can buy a set of essential oils on Amazon, right? It'll be shipped to you. You can get them in any number you want. There are companies that just give you this kind of, that just sell essential oils. You can get it from them. There are also training kits for sommeliers. So they have dozens of odors in the training kit, all little vials you can use. Same thing for master perfumers, a different set of odors, but essentially the same concept. Yeah, so a lot of people's sense of smell has been compromised. It turns out that this also improves your olfactory system. So one of the ways to recover from the loss of the ability to smell from COVID or for any other reason is by giving yourself multiple odors a day. Yeah.
Has it been tested against allergies?
These are all what's called generally regarded as safe. So, so they're fine. There may be people who respond to one odor, and that irritates them. So they don't have. They're not evoking an inflammatory response. It's just that they find it irritating, and that's not the olfactory system. It's actually the trigeminal system. So we've tried to avoid trigeminal stimulating chemicals, but people have all kinds of problems with odors, both positive and negative. The Army once wanted to develop a really bad odor that could disperse crowds, and they couldn't find an odor that everybody hated. Right? So yeah, olfactory stimulation, just multiple odors on a daily basis. CPAP. We'll get to CPAPs, but not yet. All you need is a tube, basically. I mean, it's not a complicated thing, but it's been complicated enough getting a device with 200 parts on the market. So we'll get there, right? Yes. We have a sign-up sheet there. If anybody's interested, you can sign up, and we'll send you a note when it's available. Thousands of people have done it. So, yeah. So, yeah, the study that we published was done with 7 odors, right? We just had them going for a long period at night. And the reason was that the only devices we had access to were the simple ones that you can get on Amazon. Right? Yeah. So, right. So we haven't dealt with insurance companies yet. I've had a lot of experience with insurance companies. Almost none of it pleasant. So we'll see. Certainly, they're not going to jump into it. We need to provide, I think, much more data before they will do it. The FDA is fine with us going to market without getting FDA approval, but to get one of the numbers that you need for doctors just to get it covered, it's just a whole process, right? And we'll get there, but not now. Pharmaceutical companies have spent billions of dollars and came up with nothing. Yeah. So in the study where they were stimulating the dementia patients, they found significant results after 2 weeks. So it's dramatic. She's asking how long it would take if you've got a bunch of odors and you started sniffing them. So I've done this, and actually I've done this for quite a while because I want my brain to be sharp. So I have a sommelier training kit, and it takes me about a half an hour to go through 80 odors a night, all right? Nobody else in the world is going to do that, so yeah.
Memory.
So we also have a way to test your memory online. So we want to see you track your memory to see it get better and better. And so we are, on our website, there is a way to test your memory, and 6 months down the road or whatever, you can test it again and test it again to see that it's improving and working for you.
And if it's not?
If it's not, you know,
You get your money back?
I'm not the business guy, so I don't know if we'll give money back, but, you know, no drug, no treatment is good for 100% of people. People are very wildly. So, so what he's asking is, how can you tell if a mouse has Alzheimer's disease? Right? So what you do is you give it all kinds of changes to the brain. So now it has high levels of amyloid and high levels of tau and maybe inflammation and a few other things. And they no longer can remember things. That's right. Parkinson's disease, you see motor problems. It's all that they have human-like symptoms, and you just modify what you're looking at to accommodate for the fact that they're mice and not humans, right? But it's nobody would do these experiments unless there was a convincing human-like symptom that could be reversed, right? And in all cases there is. They have mice with autism, they don't interact with other mice, things like that.
This too.
So we have preliminary evidence that, that it works for children. And we went into a school and we gave them the olfactory enrichment in the classroom. And they rapidly improved their what's called executive function. Executive function is flexible intelligence, so IQ, ability to focus attention, and the ability to inhibit inappropriate behaviors. All the things that you need if you're a child, if you want to do well in school. And we think this is going to be as effective for the children as it is for the older adults. And what parent and grandparent wouldn't like to see their kid get another 8 points on their IQ test? Right, so
How old were these children?
these children were all in the 5th grade.
How about college students?
We tried it with college students. We were looking specifically at depression symptoms. And there was a significant reduction in depression symptoms in college students. As you may know, there's an epidemic of emotional problems on campuses. And we think this may be able to do it. It also works. Other people have done studies where they've decreased depression symptoms in older adults, right? Even older adults with dementia. Yes, yes. Also, they increased the time they spent sleeping. Right? Increased.
The sleeping?
Right, so they slept more, as did the older adults in our study. 22 minutes more. Yeah, so you can get improvements in memory with stimulating with a sound, right? I don't know if you, so it's a particular kind of sound, it's 40 hertz, which you may or may know what that sounds like, but basically it's a buzz and you listen to it for an hour and that improves your memory. Seeing a flashing light at 40 hertz also improves your memory, but of course nobody's going to do either of those things. So it was really important to get something that doesn't need any help. Yeah, yeah. So what she's talking about is tinnitus, which is as your hearing deteriorates as you get older, your brain goes, oh, you know, things aren't as loud as they used to be. I'm going to ramp up the noise in your brain, right? So I'm going to make sure you hear something. It's nothing that's important. It's all kinds of problems, but it's possible that this can help tinnitus. We have not tested it. So basically what happens is that your brain excites itself in order to make this sound. And if you're emotionally engaged, everything is higher. If you're calm, everything is lower, right? There's just been a new therapy for tinnitus that is wild. You put a plaque on your tongue that somehow stimulates it, and you listen to, I don't know how it works, but it's been approved by the FDA, and people are using it. It's made by a company in Britain. But you can search for, new. There's a plaque on your tongue, right? Yes. So, people don't really know what counts as socializing, particularly when you're doing this.
Yeah.
But my guess is the more interactions you have, the more stimuli of any kind,
Yeah.
the better things will be. We started the company in 2017, and we are the first two engineering companies that we hired just couldn't figure it out. This is complicated to do, and so we finally found these terrific group in Northern California. That's been, that was really the problem. It was a difficult thing to do, so it took a while. We've been very successful in our fundraising. We've been very successful in our marketing. We've done test marketing. We asked 200 mothers whether they would like to see their child do this and get a higher IQ. 200 of them said yes. Yeah. She's asking whether it's been used for children with autism. So the standard therapy that we have for children with autism is that they get stimulated with different odors every day. Right? In addition, they get other things as well. What we think is going to happen is that we can improve them even further and more rapidly by doing this at night. And we're going to be doing research on that. All right. Right now, if you want to access the autism treatment, it's at mendability.com, M-E-N-D ability.com, one word. Yeah. So he's asking whether other groups are doing this. There are groups all around the world that are doing this in different ways. So there's a group in Germany, a group in Poland, a group in South Korea, Australia, and I think that's all.
Have they come up with machines?
So they have machines. They're all doing, the sniffing, right?
The leading edge.
And well, I don't want to do something that people aren't going to use, right? And so if you say, look, all you have to do is sniff these 80 odors every day, nobody's going to do it, right? Yeah. The question is, are other people doing research on this topic? And the answer is yes. And all over the world, there are now about 20 studies showing that either brain and or behavior improve with olfactory enrichment. Some people call it olfactory training, but it's the same thing. Right. Yeah.
And from time to time?
Yeah, she's saying, you can sniff less than 80 odors a day. Absolutely. I guess what I'm saying is do what you can do, right?
Same as exercise. Once
Right.
you're over your...
So some people can sit down and do it. Maybe while they're watching television, they can take a box and sniff them. Other people are not going to do it. They'll do it for a week. Everybody does it for a week. And then they just don't do it. So, everybody in this room knows that exercise is good for you, right? It's good for your heart, it's good for your mind, it's good for everything is good for you. What proportion of older adults do exercise? 15% men, 10% women. No, it's just coming out. So we can't tell you that it's been working for years.
Yeah.
But these people are really first-class engineers, and they are aware of the importance of designing things that work and continue to work. Right? Yeah.
You could read it yourself.
If you email, she wants to get more information. If you email me at UCI, it's MELEON at uci.edu. MELEON at uci.edu. I'll send you a copy. Does it help insomnia? Yes. So in our study, we found that people slept 22 minutes more when they were having the olfactory stimulation. I'm a member of UCI Mind. All of the people who were recruited for our study came from their consent to contact list, where people have engaged with UCI Mind and told them they were interested in being in a study, and we had great luck with them. It was really a pleasure working with the people, and they're all from Orange County. Yeah, so we don't know how long you need to smell something, but what's really important is having many different odors and doing it reliably over time. So the more odors, the better. The more time, the better. So no, people, many people relax when they're smelling lavender, and that helps them go to sleep. So people put lavender on their pillow, they put it next to their bed. Having one odor is not going to do very much for your memory. It's the multiple odors that is the critical aspect of it. And mixing odors, like putting 10 at once so you have a combination, that doesn't work either. Right? Yes?
How long have you been doing the research?
How long have I been doing the research? Well, I've been doing research since 1968. Yeah, I think that's right. That was my first publication. And we've been doing this. No, this project started in probably about 10 years ago. All essential oils are gathered from around the world wherever the plants grow. So if a plant grows in Egypt, they get the stuff from Egypt. Sometimes they get the extraction from Egypt. Sometimes they ship the stuff to France. Sometimes they ship it to Oregon. But all of it comes from all over the world. No. But these things have been used for 1,000 years, and they're safe. Basically, it's like smelling a flower.
So you sleep with that belt all night, or does it shut off?
So it shuts off automatically
After?
after 5 hours. Right, so it's on and off and on and off. All right, yes.
Did you give us a website?
It's memoryair.com. My PhD is in neurobiology and behavior. I was actually admitted to the UC Irvine program. At that time, there were only 2 neurobiology and behavior programs, one here, one at the University of Chicago. For sort of personal reasons, I guess, I went to the University of Chicago, and I was thrilled to be able to come here for the rest of my career. So worked out well. Right. Yeah.
You mentioned the machine.
So I don't know if this is an important point or not, but you don't get an allergic response from an odor. You can only get an allergic response from a foreign protein. Right? So they're not getting an allergic response. If they're getting a negative response, it's an irritation. And different odors can irritate the linings of your nose. And it's not an olfactory response, it's a trigeminal nerve response. So a friend of mine has developed this device to stop people from falling asleep while they're driving. So he can monitor your eyes, and when they go like